Now, our China media analyst, Kerry Allen, has joined me at our desk here in the newsroom. We're going to talk about two stories which are about China, which are on our radar at the moment. The first one, there was this thing which one of news agency AFP tweeted a short while ago. A huge explosion has rocked a gas plant in Henan province, central China, and many people are showing the video. What happened?
Yes, well actually Chinese media have just confirmed in the last hour or so that two people have died. There was an explosion at a workshop, and this is quite common in China, that I mean, there's a huge manufacturing industry in the country, but this explosion happened. There's been footage everywhere of these huge mushroom clouds being shown in this area, a city called Yima in central Henan, and yes, there are still a number of people unaccounted for. The local authorities say that it's 12 people unaccounted for, but 18 people are seriously injured, and yes, 2 people have been confirmed dead, but there are firefighters at the scene, and an investigation is still underway as to why this happened and how it managed to happen.
And as you mentioned, this video, which I'm just looking at now, you mentioned that huge mushroom cloud which you can see rising above the town there, and then also you see shots of cars and bits of a building with stuff coming out of the window. There's a man walking around looking incredibly confused. There are people with hard hats on who I imagine worked at that plant, who are taking photos, and all around the sky around them is a big mushroom cloud. And as you said, this kind of thing is not uncommon. What are people saying about this online, that this has happened again?
Yeah. Normally when there's an incident like this, there's a lot of concern. People are saying they hope people are safe, because I mean, it's not just the actual explosion, but the aftermath of the explosion. I mean, these explosions at industrial factories tend to happen it's quite close to areas like schools, for example. So, I mean, one of the reports that I've seen this today is that within a 3-kilometre radius, a lot of windows have been smashed. So you'll see footage of people trying to escort people out of residential buildings, out of school buildings, and there's concern that afterwards, that because it's a chemical factory, that people might have inhaled some hazardous substances. So the authorities are saying that at the moment it's not a major threat, and I mean, I've seen so many of these explosions in China. It's very common for them to happen. You can almost have one a day, but the casualties are normally quite small, 1 or 2 people. So this is a minor explosion. I mean, I've seen ones where literally the whole sky is taken over and hundreds of people have died, but at the same time they do reignite discussions on social media about safety in factories, and the way that the government deals with these, the fact that they keep on happening, that there aren't the precautions in place to stop them, that people still die.
So what is the government's response to, not only to this but also to whenever they happen?
It hasn't come out yet, and normally there will be a delay. So because they say an investigation is ongoing,
yes.
At the moment they're just focusing on clearing the area, because it is very uncommon that you'll get something happen in China that there'll be a kind of breaking news report. Normally you'll hear about it after it's happened, but obviously you can't escape the image of a huge mushroom cloud. You know, the authorities have to tell people that this is happening. So at the moment they're just focusing on clearing the scene, trying to recover people, trying to stop the fire if there are fires, because sometimes, because this is a huge industrial area, it might result in other fires or other explosions. So they have to contain things before they can actually say why this has happened, and you know, kind of decide about punishment or whether anything further should happen as a result.
I want to ask you about another story which is being talked about a lot online, which is the case out of Illinois in the US, the sentencing of a former PhD student who kidnapped and murdered a Chinese graduate. What's the story?
This is a huge story. I've been following this since 2017. I remember originally, I mean, it had the same scale as the Madeleine McCann case in the UK, that this Chinese student just went missing, and Chinese media were saying, if you've seen this woman, help find her, and the FBI arrested this PhD student, Brent Christensen, and what happened then was they put tracks on him, and they heard him speaking to a former girlfriend and saying that he'd murdered this Chinese student. Her body's never been found, so it was expected that he would get a serious punishment, and China has been calling for months, Chinese social media users, for the death penalty for him. And because it's happened in the US as well, there's been the escalating Sino-US trade war, and there's been a lot of friction and tension, but also concerns about Chinese people going and studying in the US or just going overseas, you know, feeling afraid. So with this case, it was expected that this might be a way that the US can redeem itself almost by punishing this man. So today that it's come out that he's got a life sentence rather than the death penalty, there's a lot of anger in China about this.
Saying what kind of thing?
Saying that literally he was evil, that he was the devil incarnate, that he's not told people where her body is, and you know, Chinese people have been seeing through the media. I mean, it's very uncommon anyway that you'll get in Chinese media correspondents live at the scene. A lot of stuff is pre-recorded, or you'll have a presenter in the studio. But they've actually had stringers out in the US speaking directly to CCTV, the main broadcaster in China, and saying that you know, they've had interviews with the family who've been crying, saying they just want their daughter's body back, and people have been getting live updates on the court case as it's happened. So people have been following this every step of the way, and they've been so angry about it, just getting increasingly angrier and angrier. And they've been saying that the US judiciary system will be a joke if it turned out that this man, there was sympathy towards him and he was given a life sentence rather than the death penalty. At the same time, people are saying that there might be justice served if he's tortured in prison. That's the one kind of...
Gosh.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much for that update. Kerry Allen there, who's our China media analyst.